Thanks for taking this opportunity to learn about some technology and an invention of ancient Mesopotamia. This case, what we're going to talk about is the invention of writing, and it's called Cuneiform. If you're watching this in TouchCast, please feel free to check out these two links. By clicking on each one of them, you'll be taken to the full YouTube clip. They're both excellent in explaining what cuneiform was, how it was invented, and the shape and the design of the letters and what they meant. What we're going to do together is look at the basics of the cuneiform language. And I'm going to share with you a short reading about this writing system. So, for starters, we are here. The ancient Mesopotamians believed in education. Record keeping was very important to them. They wanted their sons to learn how to read and write, but only their sons. I agree with you. That's a bummer and seems kind of dumb. Why just boys and why just sons? As much as we wish we could change that, we can't. It's sad, but girls could not get the education needed to learn how to write in ancient Mesopotamia. The written language began as pictographs, which were pictures of things that acted as words. Pictographs worked, but they were rather cumbersome and they were really difficult to do. Here's an example of what some looked like. You see, originally in this column here, images or small little pictures of things appear. Like this. A man. Looks like a guy laying down. A fish does look like a fish. And that's a pictograph. A picture that is explaining your point or explaining your message. Later on, cuneiform gets into these type of symbols. They're not letters like ours, but they're symbols that don't look like the actual word or the actual meaning of the message that is trying to be told. And that's called a pictograph in this column. Eventually, letters are used, and that's what we see on the right column. Soon, though, the clever ancient Mesopotamian people started to use wedge-shaped symbols, as you can see here. Many wedges and a lot of triangles and lines, it looks like, instead of objects to convey a message. Today we call this writing cuneiform. We know a great deal about the Mesopotamian civilization because of the written record that they left behind in stone and in clay. Check this out. They didn't write on paper like we have nowadays. They wrote in clay. When it was just soft enough to be pressed into, not too hard, not too soft, but then eventually it would bake and it would harden, and that record was literally in stone. But they didn't have pens and they didn't have paper like we do nowadays. They wrote it on clay tablets. The ancient Mesopotamians, they kept excellent records of things. They listed their household goods, they listed their court activity, they listed sales and purchases, and they even kept a list of all of their kings throughout time. Now, one of the best things about Mesopotamia is that they wrote down a story called the Epic of Gilgamesh. There you see his name. And we're going to look at that epic, or that poem, that story about Gilgamesh closer later on. But that is a very cool and fascinating story that was written in ancient Mesopotamia. Now, cuneiform became the written language from as early as 5000 BC. As the civilization of Mesopotamia started to decline, unfortunately for them, other civilizations continued to use their written symbols, their cuneiform, their triangles and lines. And thanks to the Mesopotamians, we also know a great deal about ancient cities called Babylon and Assyria, because they used the system of writing. cuneiform. And although cuneiform was used for many thousands of years, and many things have been discovered written in cuneiform, it's not easy to read. It's difficult, and that's because of the shape. The letters aren't as clear or as unique as our alphabet. A lot of theirs look the same. They're triangles and they're lines, and they're put together in a different combination depending on the letter or the meaning that they're trying to convey or say to the people reading. Now, anytime though archaeologists find cuneiform on a clay tablet, they're extremely excited. Here's the downside. It takes time to translate. And in their excitement, and as they translate, they don't know for sure if what they have found is a household list of supplies or possibly an amazing poem or story or tribute to somebody who lived those many thousands of years ago in ancient Mesopotamia. Thanks for learning.